All right, we're ready, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edwin Van Riesen, and on behalf of Barcode Group and Samsung, I'd like to thank you for attending our webinar today, titled The Connected Associate, Accessing the Wealth of Data and Work Effectively Any Place, Anytime. Now, we know your time is precious, and we hope that you will gain some valuable insights in the solution that we'll be going over. We do have a Q&A feature available on this webinar, so please feel free to send us any questions and we will try to address them towards the end of the webinar. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Jeanette Navoa from Samsung.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to learn a little bit about why Samsung is just built for business. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and kick it off with just giving you a little bit of history of our device. We'll talk about some use cases when Rocky gets to his portion. But before that, let's go ahead and take a little walk through the history lane of when Samsung started to play within that rugged space. So when it comes to the mobile devices, our first rugged device launched in 2017. It was known as our Galaxy S8 Active. 3 years later, we were able to redesign it and we created the the X Cover Pro in 2020. And then after a long wait of 2 years, we launched our X Cover 6 Pro last year. And one of the things about Samsung that you'll learn throughout this process is that we're all about making sure that we're providing our users with a device that will give them the ability to do the job in any type of environment. One thing you'll also notice about our X Cover 6 Pro is that we heard our customers loud and clear of what they wanted with a device. So we were able to create a device that is lighter and it gives them that consumer design fitting, which fits perfectly in their hands and in their pockets without that traditional device that they're used to of being bulky and big. The beautiful thing about this X Cover 6 Pro is that it's also has all the best bells and whistles that they are used to and that they love from those rugged devices. We do want to go ahead and cover just 6 key reasons as to why the Galaxy X Cover 6 Pro. So we understand that enterprise customers want a device that they can be confident in, knowing that they have a durable design and that can endure those drops and spills in their demanding work environment. So the perfect solution for those types of situations. And it also comes with a few features that we'll talk a little about more in depth, from glove mode, touch mode, and how those capabilities truly allow our users to get the job done. We also have a device that has the ability to go ahead and give them the powerful connectivity that they need. So our teams are less likely to waste time and can go ahead and stay connected around the clock and then spend more time tackling what they need to throughout the day. Giving them that 5G network experience, Wi-Fi 6E, having it be CBRS ready, and also being able to provide them with a powerful and efficient communication is key to their business. The Galaxy X Cover 6 Pro is built for business, as there are some key features that we want to go ahead and highlight, but also just to give you guys an idea of it, it has hardware keys that make it easy to quickly launch those commonly used apps with the push of a button. To utilize them as push to talk, for example, some of those applications that they use while in the field, giving them that ability to access it. Things like Pogo fast charging port is a great option for them. So not having to wait for the device to charge, simply swap it out or plug it into that charging port, or that removable battery option that it has as well. We also want to make sure that you guys are aware that we have a proven partner ecosystem. So we work with a lot of different vendors to be able to give the customers the complete solution, which Rocky will touch a little bit more throughout in his use cases. And of course, these devices come as scanning and MPOS ready so that they can go ahead and do all of their jobs. And of course, with Samsung Knox, giving them the peace of mind that they need from a hardware perspective, as well from a software perspective. And as I mentioned, right, The Galaxy X Cover 6 Pro is a build for business, so it is a rugged directly out of the box. It is built the way that our customers want it, so that they can be confident in knowing that they have that durable design, as I mentioned, to be able to sustain those drops and spills of those demanding work environments. This device is also military 810 tested, and it also is being able to sustain 1.5 millimeter drops. Another great thing about the X Cover 6 Pro is that it's IP68 rating, meaning that it can withstand that dust, dirt, or even water. And as I mentioned earlier, it has glove mode feature, which allows them to keep those safety gloves on. So think about in situations when they're dealing with biohazards, fire, making sure that they stay safe. And then wet touch mode gives them the capability to, even in those wet environments, be able to keep those gloves on and still be utilize their device to its full potential. So those are just some of the things that this device does. And then throughout those use cases that you'll see shortly, you'll be able to see how it kind of all is able to be put together. But the key thing is that these devices are ready out of the box. So nothing additional that the customer has to go ahead and do. A few things again that I just want to highlight is in our X Cover 6 Pros, those two programmable keyboards that allows them to select those commonly used apps. We have a 3.5 millimeter jack on the device that everybody loves. These devices are MPOS ready. They have those swappable batteries, so they can go ahead and swap it in and out. They have that pogo pin charging on the device. They're military standard. That they'll absolutely love, and they have a large display to help them get the job done. So when you think about, why the X Cover 6 Pro, think about, they're ready for anything, they're versatile to do more with less, and gives our users the peace of mind that they need from the chip to the cloud. So with that being said, now Brock is going to go ahead and put it all together for us with some use cases.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeanette. So guys, I'm Rocky Rickard. I head up business development for manufacturing, and I'll be actually covering manufacturing in addition to 5 other verticals from that use case from that frontline worker. The one thing I wanted to add about our rugged portfolio is our life cycle. So traditionally, you guys are used to seeing devices and you walk into like Verizon or Best Buy. Those devices are typically in a 1-year refresh cycle. Samsung in our rugged B2B portfolio, which is what we're covering today, is typically on a 2 and sometimes 3-year life cycle. And we also support those devices for up to 5 years from a security and an SMR perspective. So think about when you talk to your customers, future-proofing the device, saving them money over the long term, and really think of our device as a Swiss Army knife. As we talk about frontline workers, it's somewhat of a generic term, but that frontline worker actually crosses over to multiple verticals: public safety, healthcare, retail, manufacturing. So as we look into this, as you can see from the slide, we partner with Microsoft Teams very, very heavily, especially in some of those push-to-talk features like walkie-talkie or task management. But these are the things that we actually talk day in and day out with our customers. All the use cases I'm about ready to start showing you guys, I will go a little bit quick, but all of these are either active pilots or full-blown deployments that are actually in circulation today. So next slide. Perfect. So as we get into public safety, we see the need, and again, it doesn't just have to be public safety. Think about military, government, DoD employees. Think about that frontline worker. So our devices today are leveraging things like real-time contact. We have our devices that are being leveraged as body cams in some police departments across the United States. But really think about the basic day-to-day, the shift work, the action or task items, or the following up and the reporting that's being done. So, gone are the days of that pen and paper. And when you introduce the X Cover 6 Pro, think of it again as that multi-purpose tool for the employees. Next slide. So as we stay with public safety, I love talking about our wearable solution as that companion device. So as this example here, we actually have watches with the X Cover 6 deployed. Think about the lone man scenario or an officer scenario where we can actually locate geotrack by them wearing that watch. We can access things like push to talk on the watch, or even man down. God forbid a scenario where an officer's down, injured, or hurt. They can actually tap 2 times on the watch and immediately sends an alert out, letting them know where that notification is at. Next slide. So now we're going to take it up a little bit level in the public safety sector. where our devices are built in with an ocular scanning based solution called Knox Capture. Knox Capture, as you can see, it can be from the warehouse in that middle image all the way to the top left, where you can actually take photos of, say, like license plates. It doesn't have to be a UPC code, and it actually auto generates and populates in certain fields that you guys select, right? Or I'd say the admin selects. So for this example here, a parking lot supervisor or even a police officer wants to take a picture of a license plate, they can pre-populate their workflow to have that license plate, take the image, take the state, and then the number, and input it into a data worksheet. Whether it's actually writing us a ticket or it's just basically like a health and wellness check that we do. Next slide. So as we kind of transition into transportation, our devices are seen in ELD, but typically our tablets are our number one ELD device. But as we go into transportation, think about like last mile delivery. I mentioned that ocular-based scanning solution, as you see in the bottom right. So we can do proof of delivery. We can do inventory management, right? As those packages are delivered, it actually takes it out of the warehouse management system. And then you can also annotate either with your finger or a Samsung S Pen that last mile delivery and that proof of delivery, as you see in those images up on the top, all by just using the Xcover 6 out of the box. And then next. So as we're staying in transportation, a lot of people are looking at employee retention. And so one way to do this is making their job easier by providing them a device. That device does everything from trainings to that ELD mandate to navigation to that last mile delivery, as I mentioned. You can also see how fleets are now actually mandated, and that's where the ELD mandate comes in, that every driver must have an electronic log device. So we can be anything from tablets to handsets. Because we're leveraging our handsets, we see a lot of drivers like Uber drivers in the transportation space using their device day in, day out for picking up passengers and then navigating the organization where those drivers are at. Next slide. As we start jumping into manufacturing, I'm going to give you kind of two scenarios here, but really it's digitizing workflow. So I actually today just came from a warehouse where all they do is pen and paper. So making their operations more efficient by just putting a handset in their hands is going to jump and include their ROI like they wouldn't believe. As we start to build off that ROI, we can leverage things like DEX, which our devices are DEX enabled, which stands for desktop experience. So you can actually dock that phone into a station without a PC. All you need is a monitor, and now you have that desktop experience, almost like you're using your Microsoft Windows normal laptop. So your phone is doing all the computing while it's giving you a heads-up display on a monitor or a TV. And then, as I mentioned, some of the watch scenarios as well inside of manufacturing. Instead of that lone man scenario, it's more of a keep out zone. So if you're walking down and inside of a warehouse and there's certain machines you shouldn't be getting close to, that watch will notify you as you approach that zone. It'll warning you, alert you with haptic feedback and audio, but it also actually takes that data and sends it back to managers, right, for corrective training, safety training, OSHA regulations and training. So we can actually help that employee be a little bit safer and smarter in those environments. And same thing, we can also use this as that lone man scenario. We have workers, we have fall detection that's embedded into our watches as well. There are different APIs in the back end, but I can tell you at what height somebody fell, at what speed they actually fell. So it's quite unique on some of the capabilities that Samsung has to offer in their devices. So as we talk about inside of transportation and warehouses, as you see that last mile delivery, well, how do we communicate? How do we scan in? So Knox Capture is one. The other one, we do partner with other third-party vendors, such as ProGlove is a great example for that long-range hands-free scanning, as that image you see in the bottom right. So think of our device as that hub, and those peripherals or those use cases as the spokes, right? And those spokes build out a complete solution. So in this example here, you're seeing somebody receiving product in, picking, packing, shipping, and then going back out as a task management workflow with the wearables, right? Did you pick this package? Yes. Was it a good pick? Meaning, was it the correct product you were supposed to put into that bin? If it's not, your phone and your watch can illuminate and it'll be red. So you're knowing and you're reducing any kind of human error that you might have on pick, pack, shipping in the warehouse. Next slide. So when we get into hazardous environments, so Samsung is one of the very few OEMs that makes product or partners with people that make products that's intrinsically safe. So Pepperell and Fuchs is the partner that we use to ensure that devices are Class 1 D2 certified. And essentially anywhere there could be an arc and a spark in an environment where it could be hazardous, our devices are rated to prevent any type of fires or explosions that could happen. Think oil and gas industry. You can also think, like paint manufacturing, auto manufacturing, where they have clean rooms. Very, very specific use cases here, but Samsung has you covered with our Xcover 6 Pro being intrinsically safe. And as we get into healthcare, healthcare is one of my favorite. Again, asset tracking, barcode tracking, patient monitoring, all of this works with our Knox Capture solution here. So we can actually take patients' medications, scan it to their bedside, where they might have their chart or their doctor's working the chart. So we ensure that the correct medication is being delivered to the correct individual. As you go to the next slide, you'll see, I think, home healthcare as well. So the Cures Act, which was mandated that there has to be an electronic visit verification on every single nurse or doctor that does in-home patient care. So we actually partnered with Hello Care to develop that solution. And again, if the government mandates it, we actually have to follow suit. So being able to take the Xcover 6 Pro to do things like patient verification, healthcare checks, vitals, stats, all that good stuff, all can be done now with one device and one clean workflow process. And then here, this example is about Teams and Microsoft Teams, right? Because gone are the days of where everybody's inside of an office or inside of a building, right? Especially with healthcare and patient care where you're doing home visits. How do we stay communicated with the doctors that are maybe inside the hospitals or the facilities, all the way down to the insurance companies and the billing? So we can actually basically coordinate through Microsoft Teams, workflow, task management, different approvals and corporate communication, all again can be done with one device, leveraging Microsoft and Teams. We have two more slides. So now as we get into retail, so this is probably one of our largest use cases and one of our largest deployments in history was working with Walmart. So instead of frontline worker, it's more of the connected associate worker. Same, but different, right? So imagine at the fingertips, if you ever were to go into a Walmart today, you can see one associate with one device. That associate can punch in, punch out from a time perspective, receive tasks that their managers, sweep the floors, can do inventory management checkup, and also can check that customer out all with one single device. And that's our device as well. So you can take payment processing straight from our device, tap to pay, or you can add additional peripherals such as like InView would have like a nice little payment terminal processor if you need so. Can add to the back of our design of our product. We have this really cool case that we can add additional peripherals and ports where it's that seamless design that plugs right into that Type-C port or the pogo pins on the bottom. Again, great example of them just doing a price check, inventory management, and then what you're missing is that check-in, check-out process. And then lastly is taking that payments, as I mentioned. The one thing that our product can do at a very, very high level with a partnership, we work with IBM Maximo. We're actually able to tell and detect counterfeit product versus real product by leveraging the camera and some AI-based algorithm solutions. So I'll be able to tell you if that Louis Vuitton purse has the correct stitching, and it actually computes an algorithm. So it really helps stores when they have fraudulent returns or if those product wasn't purchased at that exact store. All of that back-end workflow can be done through our device as well. So last slide I'll finish up. As you heard me mention about a lot of partners, this is just probably 10% of the people that we work with. Everything from hardware, software, companion devices, or different solutions such as, like long-range laser scanners, all of that good stuff. And mounts, right? Mounts are really big, especially as we get into warehouses and forklifts, or we're talking about officers and, even on a patrol bicycle versus actually in a vehicle. Our partners actually create solutions all around the Xcover 6 Pro in our rugged portfolio. I always like to say our partners optimize our solution selling. So if you don't see somebody on here, doesn't mean we don't work with them. We have a wide variety of partners in every single shape, form, or fashion. So with that, I know, again, I talk quick, so if there's any questions in chat, I'll address them at the end, but I'll hand it over to Jeanette to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. So now that you've learned a little bit about Samsung's offering, you may be asking yourself, how does Barcode's group fit into everything? Now, as a partner of Samsung, the different Barcodes Group entities offer design, deploy, and support services required to get the solutions implemented and maintained. So from a design and deployment standpoint, our professional services team can design a customized solution for you based on your environment. And then we work with Samsung to develop and integrate a full solution to meet your needs and alleviate any pain points you may have. Now, from a support standpoint, for all deployed hardware, we can offer our true support services, which can include a mix of help desk, configuration, staging, kitting, and other value-added services. We have a very experienced services staff to deliver troubleshooting and repair services. And we're also North America's largest supplier of labels, receipt paper, ribbon, print heads, and other consumables. Our goal is to partner with your business to get you up and running, but more importantly, keep you up and running until future-proof technologies like those you saw today. So let me turn it over to Jeanette. I think you had a few questions come in, and let's see what they are.
Yeah, one of the first questions was, could you share a win case with the Xcover 6 Pro,
Sure.
whether recent or in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of them was actually one of our warehouse slides that you guys saw. So we actually deployed a little over 1,800 units in a, let me try to think of this, in a bottling company. Let's just leave it at that. So all of their drivers, it's a 1-to-1 ratio where they have a vehicle mount inside of each of the delivery trucks. So when that delivery driver gets to the warehouse, they pull in, they actually take their device, they scan the bill of lading to know exactly all the product that's on the truck. And then they begin to get back into their truck, and then they start their route navigation using the Xcover 6 Pro. Once they get to each individual store, they will scan what is set to be delivered, and then they actually go to the back, and everything is palletized by store actually. And they'll actually scan the pallet to make sure it's a good match and if it's the right quantities. So as they start to unload and unbox off that pallet, they're actually scanning every single item in and then making sure the bill of lading matches their proof of delivery. They jump back in the truck. They're using it too for some HR, time in, time out, route optimization, right? Are the drivers taking the most efficient routes? And then just standard communication as well. Push to talk, getting back to HQ. So that's just one easy one right off the top of my head.
Awesome, thank you. Another
Yeah.
one is, can you give us an example of a partner you've recently worked with to develop a unique solution from an accessory standpoint, but also how it worked with the Xcover 6 Pro?
Yeah, so try to pick an easier one. So we did work with a company with long range scanning. So ocular scanning would not work. So Knox capture was not selected. They wanted to scan upwards of 20 to 30 feet in low light environments. So we actually partnered with ProGlove to use their long range scanner. So it's hands free as well. So they basically pick, pan, and skip, and they're actually using their own native warehouse management system, so WPS. Hopefully that answered that. Again, there's some other ones where we work with software where companies do not have an inventory management system. They're doing everything by pen and paper from the date that their distribution truck arrives to their field sales team going out and actually stocking, restocking. So we introduced them to some third-party partners from a software, and we actually built from the ground up their own inventory management system that fits the needs of their business, right? Very unique business that they had delivering food, because it was fresh food. So I'll give you a good example there.
Nice. Another question was, can you tell us and remind us what was the life cycle of these devices?
Yeah, so typically our rugged handsets are about two years. Sometimes they go actually past that. They usually don't go below that, right? So I think the Xcover was in circulation 2 years and 2 months. All of our devices typically come with a 5-year SMR support. That's from the date of launch, right? So if we launch in 2020 a device, we are going to support that as well as Google and Android. So that's your SMR updates and security patches for 5 years from the date of launch. And then that buying life cycle is going to be date of launch 2+ years. Our tablets are on a 3-year life cycle, and they still have that 5-year SMR security patch update.
Where can they go to find additional information, or who do they contact if they do have inquiries regarding this device?
Yeah, so barcodes reps, OCR reps, they can get in contact with the key account manager or myself. We kind of all network and partner together. If you want to know more about solutions or different accessories, or how to build those accessories out, right? Part of my job, I've been doing this 16 years, is basically building solutions, because I'm not in the habit of just selling you a phone. If that was the case, I wouldn't have a job, number one. But really, I'm soup to nuts, the complete solution, to include software, right? So we have a lot of software vending partners, as we're progressing out of industry 3.0 to 4.0 and soon 4.5 and 5.0. All of that is going to be about workflow, digitization, AR, AI, all of that great stuff coming.
Awesome. And last question, what's the turnaround time from getting the customer the device plus a unique accessory created for them? Like what's the time frame they're looking at?
A little bit of an ambiguous question there. I mean, it depends, what the quantity is, when the delivery, when the PO's received. But, typically we do a very good job at our big distributors have product on hand and ready. I don't think any of my partners are outside of a 6-week lead time. That's both hardware, software doesn't include that, unless we're building custom software. It really depends on the size, the volume. So again, ambiguous question, but let's just say 6 weeks or less is typically our runway, unless something is super, super custom, like we're building from scratch, ground up, an inventory management platform.
Awesome. So that was our final question.
And I think somebody had a question in the chat. Does Knox come with the Xcover 6 Pro? I'm glad you know what Knox is. This is awesome. So good question. All of our devices are Knox enabled that I just mentioned. Now our tablets, which I did not talk about today, come with the Knox Suite free for 1 year. And then subsequent, it's 50% off every other year. Our handset devices, Xcover 6 Pro, is Knox enabled, ready for the Knox Suite, but you must purchase the Knox Suite. The Knox Suite, it comes with Knox Mobile Enrollment. Think about configuring out of the box, your own logo coming up on the home screen, all that good stuff. Knox Manage, which is our MDM, our own platform. We have Knox ePhoto, which controls, updates, who, what, when, where, why, and how it pushes out, whether that's an OS update or an SMR update, so security. It comes with Knox Asset Intelligence. So that basically can tell me battery degradation, how many times is that charged, how many times are people opening that log, and more specifically, Knox Asset Intelligence helps IT. If there's an issue, a bug, something, it automatically pulls those logs, right? The old way, without Knox Asset Intelligence, you have to go into that specific device and pull line-by-line codes, right? So Knox Asset Intelligence kind of takes that minutia out of it. And then most recently, we did add Knox Capture to the Knox Suite as a product versus a standalone product. So that Knox Suite can come in 1, 2, 3, 4 year increments. I'm sure the SKUs are out there. You'd have to reach out to your reps to get those. But Knox Suite, again, is only included in our rugged tablets for the first year for free. That handset that we just talked about, completely optional, but can be added on and will definitely support those devices.
Thank you, Rocky.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
believe that covers all of the questions.
Perfect.
Well, thanks so much, Jeanette, Rocky, for sharing your insights on the solution, on the use cases were really, really insightful. So thank you so much for doing that. And thanks to the audience for attending, and have a great rest of the day.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Edwin.
Bye, everyone.